The opulent chandelier, a cascade of crystal tears, cast fragmented rainbows across the polished mahogany bar. Yung Lee, her simple black dress a stark contrast to the surrounding luxury, wiped down the gleaming surface with a practiced hand. The air thrummed with the low murmur of conversation, a clinking of glasses, and the jazzy undercurrent of the live band tucked away in a corner. Her shift at the exclusive Sky Lounge was almost over. A welcome thought after a grueling double. Everyone earned here went directly to the Happy Home Orphanage, a place she considered more home than her cramped studio apartment. Tonight, however, the usual low-grade anxiety of serving the city's elite was amplified. News of impending budget cuts had reached her that afternoon, threatening the very existence of Happy Home. Mrs. Choi, the orphanage director, and the closest thing Yung Lee had to a mother, had looked defeated, her usually bright eyes clouded with worrying. The image clung to Yung Lee, a knot tightening in her chest with every swipe of her cleaning cloth. Suddenly, a heavy hand landed on the bar, startling her. She looked up to see a man slumped against the counter, his expensive suit rumpled, his tie askew. It was Mr. He, the notoriously reclusive CEO of He Technologies, a name whispered with a mixture of awe and fear in the business world. Yung Lee had only seen him in magazine profiles, his face usually a mask of cool indifference. Tonight, however, that mask had slipped, replaced by a hazy, almost vacant expression. He was clearly intoxicated, and not the another one. He mumbled, his words slurring slightly. He gestured vaguely towards his empty glass. Yung Lee hesitated. Serving an obviously inebriated customer went against her better judgment, and against Sky Lounge policy. That Mr. He was a powerful man, and offending him could have repercussions. Besides, another drink meant a larger tip, and everyone counted. With a sigh, she reached for a bottle of top-shelf whiskey, the amber liquid glowing under the bar lights. As she poured, He straightened up slightly, focusing bleary eyes on her. You're new here, aren't you? He asked, his voice thick. I've been working here for a few months. Sir? Yung Lee replied politely, placing the full glass before him. He chuckled, a low rumble in his chest. No, I mean you're different. He reached out, his fingers brushing against her hand. Yung Lee quickly withdrew, her heart pounding. Is there anything else I can get for you, sir? She asked, forcing a neutral tone. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. You're beautiful, he slurred, his gaze lingering on her face. A wave of revulsion washed over Yung Lee. She took a step back, putting some distance between them. Sir, please, she said firmly, her voice trembling slightly. He seemed to momentarily register her discomfort, his eyes flickering with a brief flash of confusion. But then, the alcohol took over again. He reached out and grabbed her wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. Don't indigo, he mumbled, his eyes half closed. Stay, talk to me. Yung Lee's mind raced. She needed to get out of this situation, but she couldn't afford to make a scene. She glanced around the bar, hoping to catch the eye of a colleague, but everyone seemed preoccupied. She was alone with this powerful, intoxicated man, his grip tightening on her wrist. Sir, you're hurting me, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. He loosened his grip slightly, but didn't let go. He stammered, his words trailing off. He seemed to be struggling to form coherent sentences. A wave of pity, unexpected and unwelcome, washed over Yung Lee. This man, so powerful and intimidating in his sobriety, was now vulnerable and lost. Taking a deep breath, she decided to try a different approach. Sir, she said gently, I think you should go home. I can call you a car. He looked at her, his eyes unfocused. Home, he repeated, the word sounding foreign on his tongue. He shook his head slowly. No home. Young-Lee's heart ached for him, for the loneliness that radiated from him despite his wealth and status. She knew that loneliness intimately. It was the constant companion of those who carried burdens too heavy to share. She understood the impulse to numb the pain, even if it was just for a little while. "Then let me get you some water," she said softly, gently disengaging her wrist from his grasp. She filled a glass with ice water and placed it before him. He stared at it for a moment, then picked it up and took a long drink. "Thank you," he mumbled, his voice clearer now. Young-Lee nodded, relief washing over her. She had managed to de-escalate the situation without causing a scene. She hoped that he would now leave quietly, but as she turned to resume her cleaning, she heard him speak again, his voice low and serious. "You remind me of someone," he said, his gaze fixed on her. Young-Lee paused, her hand hovering over the counter. She turned back to him, her curiosity piqued. "Who?" she asked softly. He shook his head slowly. "I don't know," he whispered, his eyes clouding over again. "But you're important." The peeling paint of the orphanage walls seemed to mock Lily's dwindling hope. Rain lashed against the grimy windows, mirroring the storm brewing inside her. 3 days. 3 days until the bank foreclosed, and these children, her children, would be scattered to the winds. She clutched the crumpled rejection letter from yet another potential donor, the crisp paper softened by the dampness clinging to her coat. "Any luck? Lily, Mrs. Kim," the orphanage's cook and Lily's surrogate mother, placed a steaming mug of tea in her trembling hands. The fragrant jasmine did little to soothe the gnawing anxiety. Lily shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. "Nothing. Everyone says the same thing. The economy, budget cuts, no room in their philanthropic plans for a small, struggling orphanage." Mrs. Kim patted her hand, her wrinkled face etched with concern. "Don't give up, child. You've always found a way. Remember that time you convinced Mr. Choi, the grocer, to donate all those bruised apples? You turned them into the most delicious applesauce." Lily managed a weak smile. Mr. Choi's generosity was a distant memory, a flicker of light in the encroaching darkness. This time, bruised apples wouldn't cut it. They needed a miracle, a sum far exceeding the kindness of local grocers. The memory of Nathan the enigmatic CEO she'd met during the disastrous charity gala, flashed through her mind. He'd been aloof, surrounded by an entourage, a world away from her own. He'd also been the only one who seemed genuinely interested in the children's drawings she'd displayed, the only one who'd asked insightful questions about their future, about her struggles. A desperate thought took root. Should she even try? She remembered the disdain in the eyes of his impeccably dressed assistant, the woman who practically shooed Lily away after their brief conversation. Humiliation burned in her throat. What right did she have, a nobody struggling to keep a roof over these children's heads, to approach a man of his stature? He was a titan of industry, a world-renowned entrepreneur. He wouldn't remember her, let alone entertain her plea. "I might have one last option," she mumbled to Mrs. Kim, the words heavy with doubt. The older woman's eyes lit up. "What is it, child? Tell me." Lily hesitated. The thought of facing Nathan again, of risking further humiliation, sent a wave of nausea through her. But the image of the children's faces, their innocent eyes filled with unspoken fear about their uncertain future, propelled her forward. "It's a long shot," she began, her voice gaining a sliver of determination. "I met someone who might be able to help." The rain continued its relentless assault, the wind howling like a mournful spirit. Lily paced the small office, clutching her phone. She'd managed to get Nathan his office number from the gala's organizers, but the thought of actually dialing it paralyzed her. Each unanswered ring felt like a nail hammered into the coffin of her hopes. Finally, on what felt like the 100th ring, a crisp, professional voice answered. Mr. His office. Lily's carefully rehearsed speech evaporated, replaced by a stammering plea. Hello. This is Lily. I met Mr. here at the children's future gala last week. I need to speak with him. It's urgent. The assistant's voice turned icy. Mr. He is extremely busy. He has no appointments available for the foreseeable future. If you'd like to leave a message. Please, Lily interrupted, desperation lacing her voice. It's about the orphanage, the Sunnyside orphanage. He spoke to me about the children. He seemed interested. A long silence followed, punctuated only by the rhythmic drumming of the rain. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. Finally, the assistant sighed, a sound laced with impatience. Hold the line. The ensuing minutes stretched into an eternity. Lily closed her eyes, picturing the children huddled together in the common room, their laughter a fragile shield against the storm raging outside. She had to do this for them. She had to swallow her pride, endure any humiliation, for their sake. Finally, a deep, familiar voice resonated through the receiver. This is Nathan He. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Mr. He. It's Lily, from the gala. I know this is a long shot, but I'm desperate. The orphanage, we're facing foreclosure. I've tried everything, but no one is willing to help. She rushed on, her words tumbling over each other, pouring out the fear and desperation that had been consuming her. She explained the situation, the looming deadline, the children's uncertain future. She spoke of their dreams, their resilience, their unwavering hope in a world that had offered them little. Silence greeted her plea, a silence that felt heavier than the rain outside. Lily braced herself for the inevitable rejection, the polite dismissal that would shatter her last remaining hope. And then, Nathan He spoke. Tell me where to meet you. The biting November wind whipped at Lily's threadbare coat, tugging at the edges like an impatient child. She clutched the worn fabric tighter, the chills seeping through to her bones. Across the street, the opulent glow of the He Corporation headquarters blazed, a stark contrast to the encroaching darkness of the alley where she stood. Her stomach rumbled, a hollow echo of the emptiness in her heart. Just one more delivery, she murmured, a breath misting in the frigider air. Her fingers, numb with cold, fumbled with the strap of the oversized delivery bag slung across her shoulder. It contained a single, elaborately decorated cake, its sugary sweetness a cruel irony against the bitter reality of her situation. The orphanage, her home, her responsibility, was on the brink of closure. This cake, this last desperate attempt to cater a corporate event, held the fragile hope of their survival. She remembered Mr. He, her fleeting glimpse caught through the tinted windows of a chauffeured car. His face, etched with an intensity that bordered on ruthlessness, had been framed by the soft glow of a laptop screen. She'd only seen him once, a chance encounter weeks ago while picking up discarded vegetables from the market's back alley. He'd seemed oblivious to her existence, lost in a world of spreadsheets and stock prices, a world she could barely comprehend. Yet, that brief image had lingered, a symbol of the vast chasm that separated their lives. He wouldn't even notice a missing crumb from his banquet table, she thought, a flicker of resentment warming her chilled cheeks. And yet, a single crumb could mean the world to the children waiting back at the orphanage, their innocent eyes filled with a hope she was struggling to maintain. Fatigue weighed heavily on her, heavier even than the cumbersome delivery bag. Weeks of sleepless nights spent juggling multiple jobs, of pleading with indifferent bureaucrats, of fighting a losing battle against mounting debts, had taken their toll. Hope, once a bright flame within her, now flickered precariously, threatened by the gusts of despair. She rounded the corner, her worn sneakers scuffing against a pavement. The He Corporation building loomed before her, an imposing monolith of glass and steel. Security guards, impeccably dressed in crisp uniforms, stood sentinel at the entrance. Lily hesitated, her heart pounding against her ribs. This was it, her last chance. Taking a deep breath, she straightened her shoulders and forced a smile. It felt unnatural, strained, a poor imitation of genuine cheerfulness. She approached the guards, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. "I have a cake delivery for the He Corporation's anniversary celebration." The guards, their expressions impassive, scrutinized her with barely concealed disdain. One of them, a tall, imposing man with a stern jawline, glanced at the crumpled delivery slip in her hand, then back at her disheveled appearance. "Name," he barked, his tone brusque. "Young Lee," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The guard consulted a clipboard, his lips pursed in disapproval. "There's no record of any delivery from Young Lee." Lily's stomach plummeted. No, this couldn't be happening. She had confirmed the order multiple times, meticulously followed every instruction. There must be a mistake, she pleaded, a voice cracking with desperation. "Please, I need to speak to someone in charge." The guard sneered. "Look, lady, this is a high-profile event. We can't let just anyone wander in. You need to leave." Tears pricked at the corners of Lily's eyes. She couldn't give up. Not now, the children were depending on her. "Please," she begged, her voice choked with emotion. "This cake, it's everything. The orphanage, we need this." The guards remained unmoved, their faces hardened against her pleas. One of them reached for his radio, presumably to call for backup. Lily felt the wave of despair wash over her. She was defeated. The weight of her failures crushed her, stealing the last vestiges of her strength. She slumped against the cold, hard wall of the building, the delivery bag slipping from her grasp. The beautifully decorated cake, their last hope, tumbled to the ground, its intricate frosting splattered across the pavement like a shattered dream. She closed her eyes, the biting wine a cruel reminder of the harsh reality she faced. She had failed. The orphanage, her family, would lose everything. And in the grand scheme of things, she was nothing but a speck of dust, invisible and insignificant in the shadow of the towering corporation. A world she could never hope to reach. A world where men like Mr. He, oblivious to the struggles of ordinary people, controlled destinies with the flick of a pen, with a single dismissive glance. The muffled sound of approaching footsteps broke through the fog of her despair. She opened her eyes, expecting to see more security guards, ready to escort her away. But instead, a figure emerged from the revolving doors of the He Corporation, silhouetted against the bright lobby lights. A figure that, despite the distance and the encroaching darkness, she recognized instantly. It was Mr. He. The ornate gates of the orphanage, usually flung open in welcome, were chained shut. A garish yellow notice, flapping in the crisp autumn wine, was plastered across the peeling paint. Young Lee's heart hammered against her ribs as she read the bold, unforgiving words. Eviction notice. Just yesterday, children's laughter had echoed in the courtyard. Now, an unsettling silence hung in the air, punctuated only by the rustling of leaves. Young Lee gripped the cold metal of the gate, her knuckles white. She had promised those children, promised the memory of her late parents, that this place would always be their sanctuary. And now this. From the corner of her eye, she saw a sleek black car pull up, its tires crunching on the gravel path. Ms. Shoei, her stepmother's impeccably dressed sister, emerged, radiating an air of smug satisfaction. The woman who, just weeks ago, had offered a crocodile-tear sympathy after her stepmother's sudden passing, now wore a triumphant smirk. "Young Lee, darling," Ms. Cho purred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I'm afraid sentimentality doesn't pay the bills." Young Lee's stomach churned. Ms. Choi had been remarkably quiet about inheriting the orphanage alongside her, conveniently forgetting to mention the crippling debt her stepmother had accrued. "You knew about this?" Young-Lee accused, her voice trembling with barely suppressed fury. "You knew she'd mortgaged the orphanage?" Ms. Cho shrugged, a delicate movement of her expensive shawl. "My dear, business is business. This prime piece of real estate is far too valuable to be wasted on, well, charity. I have plans, grand plans." Young-Lee felt a surge of protectiveness for the children, for this crumbling building that held a lifetime of memories. She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "You can't do this. These children have nowhere else to go." Miss Cho laughed, a brittle, unpleasant sound. "Oh, I'm sure they'll find somewhere. Perhaps some less fortunate neighborhood. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the developers. They're eager to turn this place into luxury apartments." Young-Lee's mind raced. She remembered Mr. He, the enigmatic CEO she had encountered during her desperate attempts to secure funding. His words echoed in her memory. "Sometimes, the greatest opportunities arise from the most unexpected places." But he had been talking about her designs, not the imminent demolition of her childhood home. "Miss Choi, please," Young-Lee pleaded, desperation clawing at her throat. "Give me some time, I can find a solution." "Time," Ms. Choi scoffed, checking her diamond-encrusted watch. "Time is a luxury you don't have. The eviction notice is clear. You have 24 hours to vacate the premises." She turned to leave, her heels clicking sharply on the pavement. "Don't bother trying to contact me. I won't be available," as the black car sped away, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. Young-Lee felt a wave of despair wash over her. She looked at the closed gates, the ominous notice fluttering in the wind, and a lump formed in her throat. How could she let this happen? How could she fail the children, betray the trust her parents had placed in her? The setting sun cast long, melancholic shadows across the courtyard. The air grew colder, mirroring the icy dread that gripped her heart. She slumped against the gate, her head in her hands, the weight of responsibility crushing her. The image of Mr. He flashed in her mind. He had seen something in her, spark of resilience. But what could even he do against the cold, hard reality of Ms. Ko's greed? Taking a shuddering breath, Young-Lee pushed herself away from the gate. She wouldn't give up. She couldn't. She had to find a way, even if it meant swallowing her pride and seeking help from the most unlikely of sources. Mr. He was a long shot, a gamble, but he was the only hope she had left. She reached for her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed his number. It rang and rang, each unanswered tone amplifying the growing knot of anxiety in her stomach. Finally, just as she was about to give up, he answered. His voice, smooth and controlled, pierced through the fog of despair that had settled over her. "Mr. He," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's Young-Lee. I need your help." The opulent ballroom shimmered, a constellation of crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow on the polished marble floor. Champagne flutes chimed like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, the air thick with the murmur of polite conversation and the intoxicating scent of lilac. Lily, usually clad in the orphanage's practical denim and warm cotton tees, was breathtaking in a borrowed gown, emerald green silk clinging to her like liquid moonlight. It wasn't the dress, though. It was the fire in her eyes, the newfound confidence radiating from her that made heads turn. She had arrived with nothing but desperation, and now she held the future of the orphanage in her hands. Across the room, Nathan He, CEO of He Corporation, stood amidst a throng of admirers. His tailored tuxedo accentuated his broad shoulders and the subtle power he exuded. He hadn't seen Lily since that awkward, rain-soaked encounter outside his office, an encounter that had left him intrigued despite himself. He'd almost dismissed her as another hopeful clinging to the fringes of his world. But something about her resilience had lingered in his mind. Lily took a deep breath, smoothing non-existent wrinkles from the borrowed clutch. The plan, hatched in desperation and fueled by a potent mix of fear and determination, felt audacious even now. But the children's faces, their innocent trust in her, pushed her forward. She navigated the room with a newfound grace, each step a testament to the strength she hadn't known she possessed. She approached Nathan, the crowd parting before her like water around a stone. He turned, his eyebrows rising in surprise as he recognized her. The fleeting vulnerability she'd seen in his eyes during their first meeting was gone, replaced by a carefully constructed mask of polite indifference. "Mr. He," she said, her voice clear and steady, cutting through the ambient noise. "I believe we have unfinished business." A flicker of amusement danced in his eyes. "Do we?" he asked, his voice a smooth baritone. "Indeed," Lily replied, holding his gaze. "Concerning the future of the Happy Hearts Orphanage." He took a sip of champagne, his expression unreadable. "And how do you propose we finish it?" Lily didn't flinch. She knew her words had to be precise, her delivery flawless. She couldn't afford to show weakness, not now. "I propose a deal," she said, her voice ringing with confidence. "A mutually beneficial arrangement." Nathan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I'm listening. You're a businessman, Mr. He. You understand the value of good publicity. The orphanage is facing closure. A generous donation from He Corporation would not only save it, but also generate significant positive press for your company." He chuckled, a low rumble in his chest. "You're suggesting I buy good publicity?" "Not at all," Lily countered smoothly. "I'm suggesting an investment. An investment in the future of these children, and in the image of your company as a compassionate, socially responsible entity." Nathan studied her, a slow smile spreading across his face. He admired her audacity, the way she held her ground despite the stark difference in their social standing. He had initially assumed her desperation stemmed from personal gain, but he saw now that it was driven by a fierce, selfless love for the children she cared for. "And what do you offer in return for this investment?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. "My unwavering dedication to ensuring the success of this partnership," Lily replied, her voice unwavering. "I will personally oversee every aspect of the donation's utilization, ensuring complete transparency and accountability." She paused, then added with a touch of calculated boldness, "And my gratitude." He leaned in slightly, the scent of his cologne, something expensive and subtly masculine, filling the air around her. "Gratitude can take many forms, Miss Young." "Young Lee, Miss Young," he repeated, savoring the syllables. "Tell me, what specific form would your gratitude take?" Lily met his gaze, a spark of defiance flickering in her eyes. She knew she was walking a tightrope, but she also knew she had nothing left to lose. "I offer you my complete cooperation, Mr. He. My time, my effort, my expertise." She had learned a lot about the business world in the past few weeks, enough to know that her intimate understanding of the orphanage's needs could be invaluable to He Corporation's PR team. A silence stretched between them, charged with unspoken understanding. The music swirled around them, the clinking of glasses fading into the background. Nathan regarded her for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he extended his hand. "Deal, Miss Young." Lily's heart soared. She placed her hand in his, the warmth of his touch sending a surprising jolt through her. The relief that washed over her was almost overwhelming. She had done it. She had saved the orphanage. As their hands clasped, a strange current seemed to pass between them. It wasn't just relief, or gratitude, or even the satisfaction of a successful negotiation. It was something more. Something nascent, something that hinted at a connection, that went beyond the confines of their business arrangement. For the first time since this ordeal began, Lily allowed herself a small, genuine smile. And in that moment, Nathan knew he had made more than just a sound business decision. He had stumbled upon something rare and precious, something worth pursuing. The future of the Happy Hearts Orphanage was secure, and perhaps, just perhaps, so was his own. The crisp morning air vibrated with the rhythmic clang of construction. Not the destructive demolition Jungli had feared, but the hopeful sounds of rebuilding. Beams were hoisted, foundations strengthened, the skeletal frame of the orphanage's new wing taking shape against the backdrop of a sapphire sky. Dust motes danced in the sunlight, catching the glint of tears in Jungli's eyes. Tears, this time, of profound relief. She clutched the deed to the land, the embossed lettering a tangible symbol of victory. Just a week ago, this very spot had been a battlefield of anxieties. Eviction notices, looming deadlines, the faces of the children etched with worrying. It had felt like an insurmountable mountain that, like a tenacious vine, she had climbed, inch by inch, fueled by a love fiercer than any obstacle. Mr. His sleek black car pulled up beside her, the purr of its engine a stark contrast to the construction's industrious roar. He emerged, impeccably dressed as always, his presence both commanding and reassuring. The morning sun glinted off his silver cufflinks, mirroring the quiet strength in his eyes. "It's remarkable, Jungli," he said, his voice a low rumble. He gestured towards the burgeoning structure. "Truly remarkable." A shy smile touched her lips. "It wouldn't be happening without you, Mr. He." She remembered their first encounter, the awkward collision in his office lobby, the spilled coffee, her stammering apologies. It felt like a lifetime ago. He chuckled, a warm, genuine sound that surprised her. "Don't sell yourself short. Your resourcefulness, your tenacity, that's what saved this place. I merely provided the tools." His words resonated deep within her. A balm to old wounds, the sting of Ms. Ko's betrayal, the humiliation of being underestimated. It all seemed to fade in the face of this hard-won triumph. She had proven herself, not just to Mr. He, but to herself. The revised contract with the construction company. "Your negotiation skills are impressive. I must admit, I underestimated you initially." He paused, a hint of playful reproach in his voice. "Pretending to be a simple caretaker, quite the performance, wouldn't you say?" Jungli blushed, the memory of her charade flooding back. She had donned the simple caretaker uniform to avoid the prejudice she often faced as the orphanage's director, hoping to be judged on her merits alone. The irony wasn't lost on her. "I only wanted a fair chance," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the construction workers bustling about. Mr. He stepped closer, his presence suddenly more intimate. The construction noise faded into a dull hum as his words captured her full attention. "You deserved more than a fair chance, Jungli. You deserved respect, admiration, and perhaps—" He hesitated, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. "Something more." Her breath caught in her throat. The implication hung in the air, thick and sweet. The sun warmed her skin, but it was the intensity of his gaze that truly set her ablaze. He had seen beyond the facade, beyond the caretaker's uniform, to the woman beneath. He had seen her strength, her resilience, her unwavering love for the children. "I don't know what to say," she stammered, feeling a familiar blush creep up her neck. He smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile that transformed his face. "You don't have to say anything." He reached out, his fingers brushing lightly against her cheek. The touch sent a shiver down her spine. "Perhaps," he continued, his voice barely above a whisper, "you'll allow me to show you instead." He leaned in, his gaze locked on hers. The world narrowed to the space between them, filled with the unspoken promise of something new and exhilarating. The clang of hammers, the shouts of the workers, the very air they breathed seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as his lips met hers. It was a gentle kiss, tentative at first, then deepening with a fervor that stole her breath away. It was a kiss that spoke of admiration, respect, and a burgeoning love that had blossomed amidst hardship and uncertainty. As they pulled apart, a soft gasp escaped her lips. The world spun back into focus, the sounds of construction a symphony of hope and renewal. She looked into his eyes, seeing a future she hadn't dared to imagine just a week ago. A future filled with love, laughter, and the shared dream of building a brighter tomorrow for the children. He took her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "Come," he said, his voice filled with a tenderness she had never heard before. "Let's show them what we've built together." Hand in hand, they walked towards the orphanage, the rising sun painting the sky with hues of hope and promise. The clang of hammers echoed behind them, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. The future stretched before them, an unwritten canvas waiting to be filled with the vibrant colors of their shared journey. And for the first time in a long time, Jungli felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that she had not only saved the orphanage, but had also found a home, and a love that would last a lifetime. The penthouse suite shimmered, a panorama of Seoul unfolding beneath the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights twinkled, mirroring the crystal chandeliers that cast a warm glow on the polished marble floors. Jungli, dressed in a borrowed but impeccably tailored suit, stood nervously, clutching a portfolio. The transformation from the harried, overworked caretaker she was just days ago felt surreal. This was the world of Nathan He, CEO of Firefly Group, a world of effortless elegance and dizzying power. A world she'd glimpsed only from afar. Nathan leaned back in his plush leather chair, the city lights reflecting in his sharp, intelligent eyes. He gestured towards the elaborate model displayed on the table between them, a miniature replica of the Firefly Group's planned community center. "So, Ms. Lee, explain to me why your design is superior to the proposals submitted by established architectural firms." Jungli took a deep breath, the subtle scent of Nathan's cologne, something woodsy and expensive, momentarily distracting her. She forced herself to focus. "Mr. He, those firms design buildings. I design a space for a community." She pointed to the miniature playground, crafted from recycled materials. "This isn't just a slide. It's a lesson in sustainability. These aren't just benches. Their gathering space is designed for conversation." She moved to the model's central courtyard, a miniature oasis of green. "This garden, planted with native species, isn't just aesthetically pleasing. It's a living classroom, a reminder of the beauty and importance of nature." Her voice resonated with a passion that went beyond mere presentation. This wasn't just a design. It was a piece of her heart, reflecting her deep-rooted connection to the orphanage and the children she considered family. Nathan listened intently, his expression unreadable. He'd been captivated by her quick thinking during the disastrous charity gala, her ability to turn a potential PR nightmare into a heartwarming story of resilience. He'd been intrigued by her fierce protectiveness of the orphanage, a quality rarely seen in the cutthroat world of business. And now, he was impressed by her vision, a vision that aligned perfectly with Firefly Group's commitment to social responsibility. He picked up a small, intricately carved wooden bird from the model, a detail he hadn't noticed before. "This is a robin," Jungli replied softly. "The children at the orphanage believe robins are messengers of hope." Her gaze met his, and for a fleeting moment, the professional facade crumbled, revealing a vulnerability that tugged at something within him. Nathan placed the bird back down, a small smile playing on his lips. "Ms. Lee, your passion is evident. Your understanding of the community's needs is remarkable. And your design," he paused, his eyes twinkling, is exceptional. A wave of relief washed over Young Lee. The tension that had been knotting her stomach slowly unfurled. The future of the orphanage, the children's smiles, her own precarious existence. Everything hinged on this moment. So, Nathan continued, leaning forward. Tell me, Ms. Lee, are you ready to bring this vision to life? Young Lee's heart soared. She could barely contain the joy that threatened to spill over. Yes, Mr. He. More than ready. Nathan rose from his chair and extended his hand. Then welcome to Firefly Group, Young Lee. I believe you'll find that our values align perfectly with yours. As their hands met, a spark ignited, a connection that transcended the professional realm. It wasn't just a handshake. It was the beginning of something new. Something promising. The city lights outside seemed to shimmer even brighter, reflecting the hope that blossomed within them. Later that evening, Young Lee stood on the balcony of her new apartment. Her modest but comfortable space provided by Firefly Group. The city lights spread out before her. A breathtaking tapestry of dreams. She'd come so far. Overcome so much. The memory of the orphanage's crumbling walls, the children's anxious faces, the crushing weight of responsibility. It all seemed like a distant nightmare. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos of the children, their faces beaming with joy during the groundbreaking ceremony for the new community center. She'd ensured they were front and center, their tiny hands gripping miniature shovels, their laughter echoing in the crisp autumn air. A notification popped up. A message from Nathan. Dinner tomorrow, it read, followed by a winking emoji. A warm smile spread across Young Lee's face. She typed back a simple yes, her heart filled with a sense of gratitude and anticipation. The future stretched before her, full of possibilities, a future she never dared to dream of, a future she would now embrace with open arms. The robin, a symbol of hope, had delivered its message, and in the heart of Seoul, amidst the glittering lights and soaring skyscrapers, a modern-day Cinderella had found her happily ever after. The grand ballroom of the He estate shimmered, a constellation of crystal chandeliers reflecting off polished marble floors. Champagne flutes chimed, a gentle melody weaving through the murmur of polite conversation. Tonight, Mr. He wasn't celebrating a business deal, but the orphanage's newly secured future. Young Lee, resplendent in a simple yet elegant gown, a gift from the orphanage's grateful children, stood by a tall window, the city lights twinkling like fallen stars against the dark velvet sky. She hadn't quite adjusted to the shift in her circumstances. Just weeks ago, she was juggling multiple jobs, struggling to keep the orphanage afloat. And now this Mr. He, looking impossibly dashing in a tailored tuxedo, moved towards her, a glass of champagne in his hand. He paused a few feet away, his expression unreadable. The earlier boisterous CEO, charming donors and cracking jokes, was gone. In his place stood a man radiating a quiet intensity. Young Lee's heart fluttered, a nervous hummingbird trapped in her chest. She'd seen glimpses of this vulnerability before, in the shared glances across crowded rooms, the lingering touch as he handed her a document, the subtle softening of his voice when he spoke her name. Young Lee, he began, his voice a low rumble that sent a shiver down her spine. He extended the champagne flute towards her. You look breathtaking. A warm blush crept up her neck. She accepted the glass, her fingers brushing against his. The brief contact sent a jolt of electricity through her. Thank you, Mr. He, she murmured, her gaze fixed on the effervescent bubbles in her glass. He took a sip of his own champagne, his eyes never leaving her face. You know, he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. I never thought I'd be celebrating a fundraising gala, especially not one I didn't organize. Young Lee chuckled, the sound light and airy. Well, sometimes it takes an outsider to shake things up. He set his glass down on a nearby table. The clink of crystal against marble seemed to amplify the sudden silence between them. Taking a step closer, he reached out and gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. His touch was feather-light, yet it sent a cascade of warmth through her. "Yingli," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to tell you something." He paused, his gaze searching hers. "From the moment I met you, standing there in my office, covered in flour and remarkably unfazed, I was captivated." Yung Lee's breath hitched. She remembered that day vividly. The humiliation, the desperation, the unexpected flicker of amusement in his eyes. "I admired your tenacity," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "Your unwavering dedication to those children. I watched you, struggling, fighting, never giving up, and I fell in love with you." The words hung in the air, shimmering like the crystal chandeliers above them. Yung Lee's heart pounded against her ribs, a drumbeat of disbelief and burgeoning joy. She'd dared to hope, to dream, but hearing him confess his feelings, it felt surreal. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring the city lights outside. "Mr. He," she began, her voice trembling. He placed a finger gently against her lips, silencing her. "Nathan," he corrected softly. "Call me Nathan." A small smile curved her lips. "Nathan," she whispered, the name feeling foreign yet strangely familiar on her tongue. "Yung Lee," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I know I've made mistakes. I wasn't always there for you when you needed me. I let my pride, my insecurities, get in the way. But I promise you, from this day forward, I will be your constant, your support, your everything." He took her hands in his warm, strong grip sending a wave of comfort through her. Looking into his eyes, she saw a depth of sincerity she'd never noticed before. The guarded, aloof CEO was gone, replaced by a man bearing his heart, offering her a love she never thought possible. She started, her voice catching in her throat. "I feel the same way, Nathan." A radiant smile lit up his face, transforming him from a handsome CEO into a man utterly and completely in love. He leaned in, his breath warm against her cheek. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered, his voice laced with reverence. Yung Lee closed her eyes, anticipation thrumming through her veins. She nodded, a silent affirmation of the feelings swirling within her. His lips met hers, a soft, tender kiss that spoke volumes. It was a kiss of promise, of hope, of a love that had blossomed amidst adversity. The world around them faded away. The clinking glasses, the murmuring voices, the glittering chandeliers, all disappearing into the background as they lost themselves in the moment. When they finally broke apart, breathless and smiling, the city lights seemed to shine even brighter, reflecting the joy radiating from their hearts. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her, and together they stood, silhouetted against the panoramic view, two souls united by fate, ready to face the future. Hand in hand, side by side. The gala, the orphanage, the struggles of the past few weeks, it all faded into insignificance compared to the love they had found, a love that promised to be their happily ever after.